All my life, I faced adversity. At the age of 18, I had got into a sports injury that completely changed the trajectory of my entire life. By the age of 21, I enlisted in the military as it was my only choice left. I had my entire life planned out. Everything changed after a routine military medical process. My name is Fred Daniels. This is my story.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us. I'm Roselyn, and today I have a very special guest, and I'm super excited that you're here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Fred. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a veteran, and I'm excited to be on the show.
Thank you for your service, Fred.
Thank you for your support.
So, Fred, I know you just have an amazing story. And I know whenever I first met you, I was just kind of in awe when you told me about what happened to you and your experience. And I really would love for you to share this story with so many people because I feel like this will definitely give some people a little bit of hope and then just motivation to keep pushing forward. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your beginnings as a little baby?
I was born, and I was actually born dead, for
Which
lack
is
of better words.
crazy.
Yeah, I was born, came out gray, wasn't crying, wasn't moving. The doctor scooped me up and was like, they did a code blue. They told all the nurses something was happening. They rushed me off to the life flight, the helicopter, and I went to Galveston to get treated.
What was going on with you for this to happen to you as a baby?
So unknown to my mom, she had something called Group B strep. But when you're an adult, it doesn't really affect you that much when giving birth. But as an infant, as soon as you cross the birth canal, it's detrimental. It's a 1 in 20 chance of being fatal. So as soon
Wow.
as I crossed the birth canal, I contracted it, and it took me out right away.
But it wasn't your time.
But it wasn't my time.
Okay.
It
That's
wasn't.
amen to that. It was not your time.
Yeah.
Also, so I know again, crazy things happen. So what happened to you as you started getting into adulthood? Tell us about that.
So as I started getting into adulthood, I went through elementary, middle, high school. I was an athlete. I was a track athlete. I consider myself pretty decent. Got looked at by Texas Tech, and I went there, and I was slated to run track for them. First 2 weeks, broke my ankle. So
First 2 weeks.
first 2 weeks, broke my ankle in the rec center playing basketball. So something completely unrelated to what I was supposed to be doing. Broke my ankle. It was gruesome. I went to the doctors. They said this is the worst ankle break I've seen. It looks like you either jumped out of a building or you got into a really bad car accident. That's how bad it was.
Crap. So what happened after that? Like you got your recovery and
Yeah.
everything's good?
Yeah, so I recovered, was able to walk again and eventually run again, scary getting back, doing activities like that after you had such a bad injury. But I had to switch gears. So I was done with my track career. So I was looking at options, like I could get a regular job, I can, apply to another college. So my dad, he pitched the idea, he was like, your uncle's in, you got family members in, why don't you just go to the military? I looked up, the benefits I could possibly get. My whole thing was I would go in, do my, whatever, how much time I signed the contract for,
Yeah.
come back out, go back to school.
Okay.
That was the plan. So I was like, okay, it looks like, they say, you could go to school, we'll pay for it, X, Y, Z. The military jargon that gets you swooped in and, just to reel you in.
So whenever you enrolled, what was that experience like for you?
It was it was one of the most eye-opening experiences I've ever had. It was something completely different than I've ever done, even to this day. So went in, did the whole thing, did the whole 8 weeks. It felt way longer than that, but it also wasn't as bad because everybody. It was a brotherhood. Everybody looked out for each other for the most part. Looked out for each other
For the most part.
for the
But
most
it was a
part.
brotherhood.
Yeah, it was a brotherhood. It's the military. That's what it's supposed to be. So
Yeah.
I went through basic training. Uh, then I had secondary training called tech school, which was about a year. Went through tech school. Signed up, did cybersecurity, did the whole thing. My whole thing was like, okay, I could do this. I'll come out with a good civilian job. Just go ahead, get my experience up, get my certs that I need, come out. Everybody was getting shipped off, going to different places. Some people were getting deployed. Some people were getting orders. Some people, were coming new to the base, so we all had to get vaccines. And so how they did it was they lined us up, single file, just everybody, two by two, went all the way to the back of the room. And you had a nurse on each side, and they'll just jab you. And like,
I'm sorry, y'all sound like a whole bunch of. I am not trying to offend anybody, but it sounds like a whole bunch of cattle, two by
Yeah.
two. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm like talking about a farm right now.
Yeah, it's efficiency. Like the
Okay.
military, they work
effective.
Be effective.
Okay.
Our slogan was work smarter, not harder.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so
I'm about that life.
Yeah, me too. So it is what it was. They did the same thing in basic. So lined up, jabbed us, gave us about 8 vaccines that day.
What? Do you remember? Okay. Do you remember all what you took?
I don't remember all of them, but I remember the big ones were like influenza and polio and smallpox, all sorts of, just run of the mill vaccines that, you're supposed to get. It's just normal procedure.
Okay.
So I didn't think anything of it. Got my vaccines, went about my day. And about 2 weeks after taking, my initial vaccines, I end up getting numbness and tingling in my hands and in my feet. And numbness and tingling, it's more or less a normal symptom. Like it's, that can happen from anything. So
Yeah.
I'm wearing boots every day. I'm moving around constantly on my feet.
Like workouts and stuff?
Yeah, workouts, marching, just standing up for long periods of time. So I was like, okay, numbness and tingling, I had it in basic training. This isn't anything, I'm not used to. So a month after getting the vaccines, I ended up getting, my motor skills started to diminish. I remember my sergeant, he asked me to, just to fill something out on a piece of paper. And I went to grab the pen and I'm trembling. Like I'm shaking everywhere. And I'll go to write and I just can't write it still. And he's looking at me, he's like, you okay? Like, you hungry? I'm like, yeah, I think I'm hungry. I haven't eaten today. No big deal, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this filled out, give it to you, whatever. I was like, okay, just get it to me. So I'm like, okay. So I went to go fill it out. I'm still trembling. I'm like, that's weird. Like that's a weird symptom. But I'm like,
Yeah.
It all goes into like numbness and tingling to me. I'm like, I guess it's fatigue.
Did you tell anybody? Did you tell like your sergeant? Did you tell your parents?
No, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't warn anyone. I'm stubborn, first and foremost. So I was like, yeah, this is nothing crazy. I haven't not dealt with numbness and tingling before, and a little tremble here and there. So it is what it is. It'll just go away. After that, it was hard to hold door handles, cups. My walking balance was really off. My coordination was messed up. And at that point, I was starting to get somewhat alarmed. So I was like, maybe I'm just not getting enough sleep because I would get like 3-4 hours of sleep a night, just super small amounts. I was like, go to open that door handle. I have to like use 2 hands kind of, or I have to use the palm of my hand.
And you're not working out?
And I'm working out, but my workouts are like, so they're just completely different than what they use. The intensity is low. I'm doing way less weight. It was just completely different.
I know that's frustrating if you're like lifting.
Very, very frustrating, especially for me. I lived in the gym. Like that's my thing. So it was horrible. It was terrible. But I was like, I'm sick, but I'll still go to the gym because if I don't, I'm gonna be worse off if I hadn't. So I just kept doing my thing.
So how much further did it take for you to start having issues with your walking?
So That was a month and a half in.
Okay.
So about a month and a half, that's when the weakness just became almost unbearable. I started getting really bad sciatic pain. I had pain radiating down my legs. It was horrible. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I couldn't do a lot of things. So it was terrible. So I remember one of the last times that I complained about it, I went into the gym, like I always do. I just went into the gym. Went to go deadlift, which is my favorite lift, one of my strongest lifts. So I went to go deadlift something, and it was really light. But I went to go pick it up, and I couldn't budge it. I was like, okay, this is.
At all. Like you could not lift it.
I could lift it, but it took so much effort, and I felt just exhausted. I was out of breath. I was trembling, like my legs couldn't take it. I was just like, this is insane. So I had to sit down. I was pissed.
Did you finally call somebody?
Yeah, at this point, my parents had known. I um, I had told them, because also that morning, another alarming symptom that led up to me finally telling them was when I went to wake up that morning. I went to go brush my teeth, and I went to make a smile, to brush your teeth. I couldn't do it. I physically couldn't smile. So I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, all right, this is kind of scary.
I would
Like,
be freaking out
yeah.
because I'm always smiling.
Yeah, so I'm always joking. Always talking something, and I couldn't make a smile, and I couldn't raise my eyebrows, and my blinking was like, it was like slow motion. My eyelids were weak. So at that point, I'm like, all right, this is crazy. I went in, told my sergeant. He's like, you need to go to the doctor. I'm like, I think so, but I'm gonna just finish the day or whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, go to the doctor.
Yeah. He said, you need to go. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, I think so too, but I just don't want them to say, oh, nothing's wrong with you. So I was reluctant, but yeah, that's when I said I went home, went to the gym. I was weak. So after that, I went home, told my parents, I told my mom, I said, hey, mom, like, I don't feel too good. Like, I couldn't lift in the gym today. My face is weak. It's like basically paralyzed. And she was like, you need to go to the doctor. Like, you have to go. I'll go, but let me eat first. So I went to go eat, and I couldn't taste my food. I had a Sprite. I went to go drink it. It tasted like just straight carbonation. Couldn't taste any of the sugar, anything in it. And I went to go eat my food. It just felt like there was food in my mouth, but no taste.
See, that's a red alarm for me when I can't eat because food is bae.
Food is bae.
If I can't taste, now I'm really upset. I mean, everything else is a big too, but the food you cannot taste.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was like, okay, this is crazy. So my walking is still labored at this point. I'm kind of like stumbling. I have to hold on to the wall kind of because I would fall over. I get in my car, drive myself to the ER. I get out and I walk, get out of my car, walk to the ER door, which wasn't far. It was about half a football field away or so. But I'm like moving so slow. People are looking at me. I'm kind of like stumbling in there. And I go to the front desk. I'm like, hey, like, I tell them all my symptoms from the past, few months. And they're like, okay, you need to get admitted. And so I got admitted, and I finally saw my first neurologist. She said, okay, I don't know if you want to hear this or not, but this sounds like something called Guillain-Barré syndrome. I had never heard of Guillain-Barré syndrome.
Guillain-Barré.
Yeah,
Guillain-Barré.
Guillain-Barré syndrome. So I'm like, okay, Guillain-Barré. She walked out. I pulled out my phone. I started Googling, like, what is Guillain-Barré?
And you start Googling, scared the hell out
Oh
of you.
yeah, it said usually it's short lived. Your full body gets paralyzed, but then you come back, pretty much make 100% recovery. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna be fully paralyzed. Like I'm already halfway there, but I'm like, well, at least this is something. So I was halfway relieved, and also kind of alarmed. So it was something.
They said it was just temporary. Like how long is temporary?
They said usually around 2 to 3 months. And so they started treating me for Guillain-Barré, and nothing worked.
What was the treatment that they gave you?
The treatment was called plasmapheresis. So it's basically they take your blood plasma They set up a machine to you, give you an IV, and clean out your plasma, and it just rotates. You get clean plasma in exchange for your plasma, which is supposed to be tainted or bad. So that's what they did. That was their treatment. I did that for about 2 weeks in the hospital, and honestly, it did nothing. But in my head, I was like, yeah, okay, this worked. I feel like, it was a treatment, so I feel like it had to work, right? I trusted in the doctors, but, in retrospect, it didn't. So they sent me home with that treatment as well.
The same treatment that wasn't working.
The same treatment.
And you told him it wasn't working.
I told him I don't think it's working, but I don't know exactly what to look for. Like, should I be back 100%? Should I get like 1% back? Like, I wasn't exactly sure. So the very last time he gave me the treatment, he was like, okay, we're done with the treatment. I walked down the stairs, I was still, hobbling. I was slow, but I could stand up on my 2 feet. I walked down the stairs. I sat on the couch. He gave me the treatment. By the time he left and he was done, my mom was like, okay, go upstairs, get you some food, and if you need anything, just let me know. I went to go stand up, couldn't. My legs couldn't carry my weight anymore. So I kind of like collapsed there on the floor, and I'm just sitting on the floor, kind of like on my like butt and on my, supporting myself with my hands. I'm like, okay, I can't stand up. My mom can't pick me up. She's tiny.
What's going on through your head in this exact moment where you're supposed to be recovering and they're giving you this medicine, and then now you're in this position right here? In that moment, what's going through your mind?
I was like, okay, I can't walk anymore. And I'm coming to terms with this. I'm like, I cannot walk. It's like, this is kind of crazy. I've never had
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you dating anybody?
And I also had a girlfriend.
How was that?
Throughout the experience, we ended up, parting ways, and the relationship ended. She knew about the symptoms. I guess we weren't in a great place at the time. So she, from what I gathered, made it seem like she really didn't care. So, I told her about everything. She was like, oh, okay, you'll get better. Like, I'm sure you'll be fine. And, just kind of brushed it off. I'm like,
That's crazy.
yeah. I'm like, that's kind of
Her loss.
Yeah. Like,
If you're watching, young lady, your loss. How long was this period where you couldn't walk, you couldn't move like this? You're physically low point. Because I just want to say physically because that's your body, although your mind had other plans.
Definitely. So physically, this lasted about 2 years. I finally progressed to the point where I needed a wheelchair. I was wheelchair bound. I was deemed a quadriplegic, a functioning quadriplegic, because I could still move my arms and legs, but it wasn't enough to do really much of anything with. So I was in a wheelchair and in a walker, in tandem. And this lasted about 2 years where I needed help constantly every day. Couldn't go to the bathroom myself. I couldn't really feed myself. Couldn't really groom myself. I needed help with every minute detail of life. So,
did you ever get angry?
Yeah, I definitely got frustrated. Like, there was just stuff, I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to drive. I couldn't drive. I wanted to play video games. I really couldn't do that. I just wanted to, I wanted to do my own thing because I'm such an independent person. So having that just taken away from me was very frustrating.
Wow. I can't even imagine, like, how many medical bills, like, you racked up.
Oh, yeah. Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Do you know how much money it was?
To this day, I don't know the exact dollar amount. I do know it was in the hundreds of thousands because my first sergeant told me. But literally, thanks to him, everything got figured out and straightened out. Like, I owe him so much because he helped. From my base, like from the military, he was basically one of two people out of everybody that I worked with, one of two people that just helped me tremendously throughout the whole thing. So he was just godsend. My parents loved him, I did as well, and I'm just forever grateful for having him.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. And I'm thinking about now that you have this support and then the hospital bills for your recovery. What was that like whenever you started to get better after the 2 years?
So after the 2 years, I remember I was so excited because my PTs and OTs they gave me these braces to walk, and they're like, I don't know if you'll ever be able to use them, but if you can one day, like these will help you. You can use them on your walker just to train your body to do what it's supposed to do because they always instilled in me like no matter what, even though your muscles may not be able to make the motion that your brain wants to do, keep trying because what that's going to do it's going to strengthen that mind muscle connection. And if you constantly do that every single day, one day you'll get a twitch, the next day you'll get a slight movement, and the next day you may get even more movement, and then years or months down the line you'll be able to do whatever you're trying to do that you couldn't just because it's mental.
That's powerful.
Very.
That's incredibly powerful. So your brain is creating those
Yeah.
neurological pathways in your brain, and by repetition.
I got out of the hospital. I was like, all right, like I need to like just grab this thing by the horns and we getting after it. So I bought a Bowflex, put it upstairs, and I would ask my sister, like help me walk me over to like the little thing, like hook me up to it. I would get in my walker and my wheelchair, and I went after it. I did like little workouts that I could because I still had the knowledge of all that. I would do like little sit-ups and the worst version of push-ups you've ever seen, but just something just to get my body moving. And I did that every day I could. And I had to show everybody like, look, like I could smile again, just showing it off. And it got better like every day after I first got the initial thing because I would try it. Like my OT said, I would just try that movement every day, especially with walking. Like that was the greatest feeling. Like I put on my braces, got in my walker, and I'm like, this is kind of easy. Like this is a little bit. I feel a little bit stronger. So put the walker to the side, and I tried to take a few steps. I'm like, what? Like I took steps. So I took a few steps, and I noticed I can go the whole length of the hallway. So I was like, this is crazy. So I called my parents. I'm like, come look at this, come look at this. And I like walk downstairs and like I'm kind of like walking and they're like, oh my
I would
God.
be crying.
Yeah, they were like tearing up. They were recording it like this is amazing. I'm like, all right, yeah, now I could go drive, right? My dad's like, no,
No.
definitely no.
A crazy experience,
Yeah.
might I say. Would you ever go through this again?
I I find myself when people ask me this question after hearing about my story, I feel like there's no other answer than I absolutely would have to go through it again. Blinking your eyes, smiling, opening your mouth, just like the most basic, frivolous things I took for granted, as everybody else does. It's a normal thing.
Yeah.
So to sit here and to say that I wouldn't or it was too hard would be dishonest of me. And I think it's necessary and it was necessary for my growth today because I'm who I am because of that today.
What would you have to say to people that have possibly given up?
My advice for that is anytime you feel like giving up, just in your head know that's not an option. That's not an option in the slightest because we all have different journeys, we all on a different path. So imagine you've been trying for this amount of time and your breakthrough is a day away, a week away. And that's where you lost your, will to go on and you give up then. You were a day away.
You're almost there.
Yeah, you didn't know it, but that's a part of the process. You don't know the process. You just have to trust it. You have to continue going on. Like some people it takes a year, some people it takes weeks. But giving up isn't the option because you don't know where you're at. Like especially if you have no excuse. If you have everything afforded to you to be able to take you to where you're trying to go, get there by all means. My doctors told me if it wasn't for my attitude and my will, people have died in lesser situations than I was in just because
That
they
is
gave
true.
up. Yeah. My dad always told me, he said, son, you're going to walk again. He would come to the hospital, have intimate conversations with me, and just look at me and say, you're going to walk again. You have your mind, so you can't be defeated. My mind was always there, even though my body wasn't, and that's what took me and allowed me to be able to come out of everything. I was able to think soundly.
So, what are you doing now? Let everybody know what you're up to.
So now I'm a personal trainer. And I think this career, it fits. I get to motivate people every day. I get to tell them that you have no excuse every single day. I get to push them to be the best versions of themselves. So it's my passion. It's still in the athletic realm. And it's just getting people to realize no matter what you can't see in yourself, I can see it. And by any means, I'm going to bring it out of you.
Well, thank you for joining, Fred. I am super happy you were able to share your story. Any additional information, guys, I'm going to link that in the description below. And yeah, stay tuned for the next episode.
I'm happy to be here, and thank you for having me on.
For sure. Bye, y'all.